to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, won't you let the light shine through? In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you,
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Manny Rays NOMA Truck Series live tonight in Homestead, Miami at Homestead Miami Speedway for the final race before the championship. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Drivers are getting rolling. So before we get any further, let's get right down track side and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be Matthew Fritz in the 29 truck. To his outside, it'll be Grant Turner in second. David Traylor back in third. Justin Parham in fourth. Jay Stinson is in fifth with Chase Greer back in sixth. Jonathan Herbert in seventh with Joey Hickox to his outside in eighth. And John Buwalda Jr. rounding out the field here tonight. He will start in ninth. Taking a look at your race info, it is the Rhino Linings of Bristol 135. Again, we're in the NOMA Truck Series. The distance tonight going to be 135 laps at 75% fuel. 5 tire sets, 1 fast pair as always, fixed setups. Stage 1 at the end of lap 25, stage 2 at the end of lap 60. And we've got 3 green light checkers if we were to need them. Homestead Miami Speedway, 1.5 miles in length, 71 degrees starting track temp here tonight. And we are set up for an elimination race to decide who will be fighting in the championship to win a championship next week. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Homestead. And already some trouble. As you see, we had one spinning in the background there. I think that was Chase Greer. Did he save it? He may have. He did. Chase Greer with a wicked save going into turn number 1. That truck jumped out sideways on him, and he had to do everything in his power to hold on. Again, a really, really good save right there from Chase Greer. But the question is, what all is it going to cost him? That's going to be the big question right now, and I don't see any damage on that truck, so it's just going to be a loss of track position. He should have time to group it back up by the time that we get to the end of stage 1. By the way, you notice here tonight, scoring tower along with a couple other things, a little off. SDK having a bit of an issue here tonight, so not displaying the NOMA Truck Series logo, not yet. When we take our first ad break here tonight, we'll try to see if we can get that fixed up. The important thing, which is still correct, is the drivers you see outlined in white. Those are the drivers that are in the round of 8, fighting to advance to the championship 4. Looks like we got 7 out of the round of 8 drivers here tonight. Matthew Fritz, the driver out of Middletown, still with a good opportunity to work his way into the round of 4. And actually, as a matter of fact, if we kind of set you up for what the playoff picture is looking like after Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, of course, we took the off week for Thanksgiving, but the points after Vegas, you had David Traylor, Joey Hickox, who are now both locked in with a win. So that leaves 2 spots left. Right now, they're being held by Justin Parham and Jay Stinson. But Matthew Fritz is the first truck outside looking in. So if he can continue to find the speed that he's got early here tonight, he could be a threat to potentially go out here and kind of get it in a walk-off fashion, win, and get himself in to that championship 4. Of course, though, that would knock out one of the other Venom Racing teammates in the form of Jay Stinson, unless Jay's able to find a way to jump Justin Parham in points, and then Fritz sneaks in that way. But I just don't see that being the most likely outcome. As we move further back, you saw we had another one there. Briefly dived to the inside. I believe that was John Buwalda Jr. Yes, it was. And the 5 machine, he'll work it back on the racetrack. And it's going to be kind of interesting here pretty much throughout the night. You're going to see so many different lines working. I think that it's kind of going to start early here with probably guys mostly trying to feel out the bottom of the racetrack. But as the tires start to wear out, do not rule out the possibility of going to the top of the racetrack. Homestead Miami Speedway, the thing that kind of separates it from all the other tracks is the progressive banking, where the closer you get to that outside safer barrier, the more banking you have to work with. So we'll have to see if these drivers utilize multiple lanes here tonight or if the cooler track temps keep everybody relatively pinned to the bottom. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Again, we mentioned having a couple issues here, it seems like, with SDK displaying a few things. So we are going to go ahead and take a quick break to see if we can at least fix just a couple of those issues here tonight. And we'll return after that. Hopefully, there's some of those problems resolved. Stick with us. We'll be right back as Matthew Fritz leads at Homestead.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience.
It's was just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got the monkey is prime! This season, we are hydrated!
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. Apologies for the early commercial break. Normally we wouldn't have one anytime that soon, but we did have a couple issues with some of the SDK overlays here tonight. Issues persisting a little bit. We kind of did the best we can with what we got so far here tonight, so it's going to have to make do. The important part is that we still have all the setups showing which drivers are in the round of 8 versus which ones aren't. But since we were on break, I mean, no change up front. Matthew Fritz has been pretty much lights out since the drop of the green flag in this race. Grabbed the pole and really hasn't looked back since. David Traylor starting to maybe track it down just a little bit, though, now, as he's cut that deficit to about half a second, maybe just a little bit less here. And that's most of the battling, at least up at the front of the field. After these two, there's a significant little gap being formed back to Jay Stinson, just over a second, as a matter of fact. See Jay Stinson working his way off of turn number 2. Grant Turner just behind him, currently sitting in the 4th position. 13 of 135 laps complete. Remember, first stage at the end of lap 25. It's coming up pretty quick here. Don't think we're going to see a pit stop, at least not in this first stage. Maybe the possibility of seeing one in that second stage. And then, of course, in that third stage as well. But 25-lap sprint with 75% fuel should be enough in these trucks. These guys to make it without any issues. Tires are going to wear out a lot tonight just as we switch over to Justin Parham, one of the first trucks that we see running the high side up by the wall. And it looked like he may have been actually getting a little bit loose up there. You notice, let me show you the weather here. I was trying to look, relative humidity, 100%, and you can see that that is showing up just a little bit on the broadcast through a couple different views. There's maybe, I don't want to call it quite full fog, but there's certainly a little bit of haze in the air here tonight at Homestead. Not going to affect the obstruction of these trucks, though. Not for these drivers, at least. And if you're just tuning in, obviously we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us here tonight, watching the Manny Rays NOMA Truck Series boys go at it. The final race before the championship, which is, of course, going to be next week at Legacy Atlanta Motor Speedway. We are looking forward to that. Justin Parham, by the way, who we mentioned continues to try to catch, is down a spot from where he started this race at, so whatever adjustments the 19 needs to find, hasn't been able to find him just yet. Spot behind him, though, sits Jonathan Herbert. He's up a position from where he started this race at, currently sitting in 6th. Then you've got Chase Greer currently back in the 7th spot, the driver out of Johnsonville, South Carolina. Joey Hickox is in 8th with John Buwalda Jr. currently rounding out the field in 9th. And for Chase Greer, you got to give him a little bit of props here. I mean, after that first lap incident where he just about spun the truck around, in fact, Go back and show you that real quick for anybody that may have missed it. This was on the green flag lap, again, to start the race. And for Chase Greer here, this is just going to be cold tires at a track that you can get really loose really quickly at. And watch as they're going through 1 and 2. Greer trying to get up by the wall, trying to keep the hammer down. And ooh, actually that spin in front of him there with Parham, which we initially missed. That may have been kind of the reaction that Chase Greer had to that ultimately started to send his truck around. Yeah, that was a big one for Parham. That was who the issue initially starts with. And for Justin Parham here, it's just simply gets a little bit loose. Watch the onboard shot right there. Snaps on him immediately, yanks the wheel right. I mean, that is two just absolutely wicked saves that those two had to make to keep us from going under caution on the first lap of this race. But the kind of downside or the bad end of the stick of it was, of course, Chase Greer losing all of his position and having to fight to get it back. Back up front we go. Matthew Fritz still leads the way. In second, David Traylor. For David Traylor here, he is trying to track down the 29. He keeps getting closer and closer. Question is, will he be able to get close enough? And what's going to be, it looks like just 7 laps remaining when they cross the line this time. 7 laps to go, of course, in the stage. So a long ways to go in the race. As, by the way, name of tonight's action is the the Rhino Linings of Bristol. I apologize. 135 from Homestead Miami Speedway. One of the many sponsors that makes all the things that these guys do possible over here at the NOMA Manny Rays Truck Series. So I know that they certainly appreciate Rhino Linings of Bristol for all that they do. And continuing to support the NOMA Truck Series for, I believe, this is the second consecutive season. Don't believe they've been around any longer than that. And of course, Manny Rays, along with all the other sponsors, certainly a shout out to them as well. Appreciate them for everything that they do. And so as we start to set up here, the more laps that go by and the more the tires start to wear out, you start to wonder who's going to really separate themselves as having the best truck. We thought earlier it was going to be Fritz. He still looks the best maybe at the moment. But I'm telling you, if David Traylor gets an opportunity up here, he's going to make something happen. And he was getting close, although I don't think he's gotten close enough yet to make anything happen. Although, I mean, you figure if he's got about 5 laps to go now as they cross the line this time, I think this is where maybe you start to push the issue a little bit more. Take a risk, see what your truck can do. I mean, if you're Traylor and you make a mistake, it's not going to cost you. It's just going to lose you maybe a little bit of position. But he's got so much of a gap back to 3rd place that I think he can kind of afford to do that. And if we actually go back here and look at the onboard view for David Traylor, a bunch of different approaches these two take into the corner. David Traylor trying to arc it not quite all the way down to the, well, actually looks like he is going to try to get it all the way down to the bottom. Kind of that big sweeping arc, looks to hit the apex of the corner and works his way out. Matthew Fritz, kind of the polar opposite. He is ripping the wall, riding it all the way around. For David Traylor, not sure if that adjustment's working out or if he's hoping that maybe this 29 truck will fall off just enough here before the stage break. Well, I just don't know right now, man. David Traylor trying to track him down, but the problem is he can't gain any momentum on the straights. When he goes to the inside, he gains in the corner, but then loses it all on exit and then down the straight. Whereas Matthew Fritz, who of course loses time in the corner, is able to get that big run and kind of hold David Traylor relatively at bay. Maybe a little bit of a setup right there to try to break the draft a little bit from David Traylor. And, oh man, Fritz, got to be careful. I said he's ripping the wall, but he almost got into the wall right there, coming through 1 and 2. That cost him some time. That's the other trade-off. If you run by the wall, you're running that risk. If you get even just a little bit tight, going to that outside wall, that could completely change your momentum, usually for the worse. Jay Stinson right now in 3rd, up 2 spots from where he started this race at, trying to catch these front 2. Don't think he's going to have enough time to do it, though, as we see 2 laps to go now here in stage number 1. Matthew Fritz going to take another dive into the corner on the outside line. There it is. Gets into the outside wall here. That's going to allow Traylor to close it up a little bit more now. And if you're Fritz, you've got about 1/4 of a second to work with here. I think you got to start to switch into conservative mode. He's going to have enough room as long as he doesn't make that mistake again. But if he gets into this outside wall, even just one more time, I think that's going to be enough for David Traylor to get there and make that move. And as they work off of turn 4, here we go. Final lap in stage number 1. Matthew Fritz in the lead. David Traylor chasing in 2nd. Final time into turn 1. Fritz has got to find a way to keep it off the wall. Starts to get tight, but it looks like the truck will rotate a little better for him this time around. Traylor has not chosen to go up there and utilize the outside line just yet. Let's see if he takes one more dive here in a 3 and 4 at him, or does he try to follow up top, see if he can maybe get some sort of run? Doesn't look like it. Trailer will choose to go right back to the bottom one more time. Fritz will stay up top and leading every lap in Stage 1. He'll be able to follow it up with a stage win. Matthew Fritz off of Turn 4 will come home a Stage 1 winner at Homestead Miami. Great stage win for Matthew Fritz, who we talked about. Going to be battling his teammate for that last transfer position, most likely, unless Justin Parham has a really, really bad run, and maybe we see a surprise winner as well. But with that setup right there for Matthew Fritz, he's going to gain some stage points. Stinson did finish 3rd, so a good run for Jay there. That's not going to help Fritz close it up too much, as you see the caution now come out. For Matthew Fritz, the drive to make it to the championship 4 is still well and alive here in early going at Homestead. All right, so the driver's going to bring it down for their first round of pit stops here tonight. It'll be full service, 4 tires and fuel, before they set up here to go back to green flag racing in stage number 2, which is going to be about 30 laps in distance. We'll see if we can get an interview here with your stage 1 winner right when we come back from a break. We're going to go side by side, though, so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us at Homestead Miami.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Drink Company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Who gets it in the line?
Welcome back to the Rhino Linings of Bristol, 135 here at Homestead Miami Speedway. As we get ready to get back to green flag racing, we'll hold off for now on grabbing that interview with your stage 1 winner. We'll see if we can pull up Matthew Fritz either at the end of the next stage, along with, of course, your stage 2 winner, or potentially the next caution. We'll see how things fall. But either way, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, David Traylor, this is an opportunity for him. Restarting on the front row this time. That's a spot up from where he started at the beginning of the race. We'll see if he can take advantage of it. Stage 2, going to be at the end of lap 60 is when we'll see the checkered flag in stage 2. That gives us 31 laps, about 5 more than stage 1. We'll see if they can make it on fuel. More importantly, a couple more laps that you may have to save some tire. Good restart for Matthew Fritz. You saw David Traylor. He'd actually got caught sleeping just a little bit. May have cost him just a little bit of time, but overall, everybody gets away clean. No issues to note of just yet. Looks like even further back, Everybody still 2x2, but nobody dooring each other and nobody getting loose this time on those colder tires as they got through turn 1 and 2. Justin Parham going to slide up. There's that big moment for the 19. You saw him have to catch it as he came off at turn number 4. He was able to do so. And that's a really, really good save right there by the 19 of Justin Parham. Jonathan Herbert still on his inside. And that's what's so tricky about Homestead is the first couple laps, you have enough grip to really run quite a bit of throttle time and really push the trucks. But the problem is they're so easy to get loose at the same time. Meanwhile, up front, battle for the lead. David Traylor going to take the position from Matthew Fritz. This is the first time Traylor has gone to the lead here tonight. And we'll see if he can hold on to this. Further back in third, Grant Turner, the one driver that is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. He's also got the pedal cam. Grant Turner right now looking back to the inside here. Matthew Fritz as they get off into turn 1. And man, he is really diving that truck in deep. Going to wear the front tires off pretty quickly if he keeps sending it in that hard right now. But for Grant Turner, currently sits down a spot from where he started this race at, qualified in second. We're going to see if he can get back to the front here for the end of stage 2. Grant, of course, not one of the playoff drivers in the round of 8. You see his name not highlighted in white, representing that both him and John Buwalda Jr., the 2 drivers in the race that are just here fighting for trophies and not necessarily a championship or playoff points anymore. Matthew Fritz is not going to give up just yet. Still on the high side here, but, I would say I'm kind of impressed, obviously, that, of course, David Traylor is starting to try to stretch it out a little bit, but I think this is kind of a trend that makes sense here at Homestead, right? I mean, David Traylor on the bottom, fresher tires. The bottom's going to be a little bit quicker, but the big question is going to be, did Matthew Fritz jump up top too soon? Did he jump up maybe just a little too late? I mean, what's going to be the question? Because if David Traylor starts to fall off on the bottom and Fritz has a big run up top to get that clean air back, he sets himself up in really, really good position. But at the same time, you got to assume that Traylor, by running the bottom, is maybe using up a little bit less tire than Matthew Fritz, who currently runs the top. But either way, Fritz has a run here. We see Jay Stinson dive below Grant Turner further back. Was wondering if Fritz would do the same to the leader. Not going to make it happen this time around. But Jay Stinson with the bit of a dive bomb. Can he make the slide job work here? Yes, he can. Stinson will slide right up in front of the 93 of Turner, who's going to try to cross him back over now down the front stretch. Jay right now probably saying, come on, Grant, cut me a break. Trying to get clear here so that he can go up there and try to work with his teammate to get around the 54 of David Traylor, but really to no prevail, at least not yet. No cautions for incidents here tonight if you just joined us. Almost had one on the first lap, but Chase Greer and Justin Parham, the 2 trucks that near spun, kept it together and kept us green. Up front now, change of the lead potentially. Fritz with another big run here on the 54 trailer. Can he get clear? He does. The start-finish line, that was Matthew Fritz's lap right there. David Traylor, by the way, who's still on the bottom, seems to be pretty content. He may not fight the 29 too awfully hard here if Fritz is able to take it. And for Matthew Fritz, gets another really big run right there, and he's going to, for now at least, try to see if, can he hold him off? Yes, he can. Thought maybe into turn 3, David Traylor would have a little bit of a bigger dive on the 29, but nothing showing just yet. As you've got the 2 of Jay Stinson running on the high side of the racetrack. And, maybe just a little scrape of the wall right there. I'll tell you what, this battle for the lead is pretty intense right now. I know we're only about 7 or 8 laps in here to the second stage, but you've got 4 trucks all under a blanket. And they're going to continue it this way here off of turn 2. This may drag up a couple more into the mix. Chase Greer, Justin Parham not lurking too far behind right now. Zach Stevens in the chat says, good job, Catman. Let's go Venom. That was, of course, Matthew Fritz, a.k.a. the Catman right now, leading the way here at Homestead Miami. He led all the laps in stage 1. He's led the most so far in the race. Didn't lead the first few. Excuse me, I guess I shouldn't say didn't lead the most in the first handful of stage 2. That was David Traylor, but now that he's got that lead back, hasn't looked back since. Can also add it, just for Jay Stinson right here to get alongside David Traylor, this is going to help Fritz out a lot as well. The longer Stinson stays side by side with Traylor, the more those two wear their tires out. More of a gap it allows Fritz to create when they stall each other out. Stinson with another big run. David Traylor not quite able to clear the 2 truck up top, and I really think that David Traylor, through these 2 stages, we always hear him talking about how he loves to kind of learn through the stages. He thinks that's kind of one of the beauties of stage racing, and try to implement all that learning in that final stage when it really matters the most. And I still think that what Traylor's trying here is just committing to the bottom, seeing how long he's got to stay down there for him to have more tire to work with than these guys that are running the high side. But the problem is you just seem to have a lot of drivers that are making both the high side work and at the same time able to get back down to the bottom as they clear each one of these trucks. So for Matthew Fritz, at least at the moment, he'll continue to lead. Stinson, though, is going to take a look on the bottom here. And Jay Stinson, another one of the drivers that doesn't right now need a win to advance to the championship for, unless it was potentially him battling his teammate here, Matthew Fritz, for it. Then he would need to grab it. Otherwise, Fritz would arguably take that final spot in the championship for Joey Hickox, the first of the Venom Racing drivers to get himself locked in. David Traylor, the first of the Grandstand Racing teammates to get himself locked in. So we know that it's going to be at least a Venom Racing versus Grandstand Racing championship, and then you look at the other two fighting for it. It's going to be a question of, is it more Venom Racing drivers, or is it potentially more Grandstand Racing drivers that we see fighting for a championship? Maybe an even mix as well. That's certainly in the realm of possibilities as Stinson continues to apply pressure here to the back bumper of Matthew Fritz. 41 of 135 laps complete. And again, we have been green all the way, minus the one caution, which was for the stage, not for incident. Matthew Fritz here, what's he going to do? Jay Stinson continues to stay side by side down the straightaways. Fritz very content to stick up top for now. Doesn't want to try to push the issue. Ooh, watch out. Jay Stinson, big moment off of turn number 2. Started to slide up, got loose, but still able to maintain his position. Gets in front of David Traylor, but that's the first sign so far in this stage of a truck that's starting to maybe have a potential handling issue. That's what David Traylor likes to see. That's what he's hoping for. He needs these two to start struggling with handling. He wants to see Fritz maybe getting a little too high, getting into the outside wall, and he wants to see Stinson getting tight and trying to let off to keep from getting into his teammate here. I think the other benefit here for Traylor is that he's able to really go all the way down to the bottom. Look at this run. Can the 54 take it to the inside of the 2? Yes, he can. David Traylor with a lot better rotation through the center of the corner right there. 54 off into turn 3, still with the advantage here. The 93, Grant Turner, has now caught these guys. He's going to try to make something happen. He's been with the group before. It's actually Chase Greer, rather, who's caught this group before now. I'm going to try to add to the mix. By the way, John Buwalda Jr. has retired from the race. Not sure exactly what the issue was for John, but again, he has since retired, so just a brief update on that. Currently, the only truck out of the race, as everybody else on a lead lap, but that leaves us with 8 trucks remaining in this race here tonight. You see it on the track map there. The first 5 all up front battling for the lead, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th kind of on islands by themselves. Justin Parham still just struggling right now. Joey Hickox as well. Good news for Joey is that with that win, doesn't have to really worry about having a good run here tonight. And then, of course, Jonathan Herbert in the 87 machine, who currently sits back in the 8th spot, seems to be struggling for a little bit of speed as well, with 45 of 135 laps complete. Well, I know it's been, a couple handfuls of laps now. As a matter of fact, we're just about 15 laps here through stage 2. So this is the point where tires have fallen off, where the speeds are certainly dropping off, but I mean, this still kind of take you on a lap here through Homestead Miami Speedway. This is a fast 1.5 miles. I mean, you look down the straightaways, they're approaching 180 miles an hour by the time they get down to the corner. And then depending on which line you decide to run through the corner, we've seen guys running well over 140 miles an hour through the corner up top. Right now they're down to about the mid to lower 130s. As Matthew Fritz really struggling. David Traylor, once he got this lead back here, I mean, I think the 54 is going to pull away. And it's kind of interesting, because it seemed like Fritz was able to manage this pretty well during that first stage. I don't know if it's because he had to do maybe a little bit more battling or what, but that 29 truck just really doesn't look planted on the bottom of the racetrack right now. And as he continues to struggle, Jay Stinson continues to try to help his teammate out. Now he might take a look to the outside. Sure enough, Stinson on the high side of the racetrack. Looks like Chase Greer is going to try to follow. The 93 of Grant Turner setting himself up to be in position as well. 29 of Fritz here, not going to be able to slot in line behind his teammate. That's going to hold him in an awkward spot here for even longer now. Jay Stinson now with the opportunity to go up here, try to grab a stage win. That would help his point standings in regards to Matthew Fritz. Well, of course, if you remember, got the stage 1 win. But now it's going to be all about who can grab the stage 2 win. Jay Stinson running the high side, getting really, really close to that outside wall. Through 1 and 2, you would think that would be the favorable lane here, but we'll have to see if it plays out that way. Trailer has had the better tires by staying on the bottom as long as he did. David Trailer, though, the longer he wraps the bottom, the more of a tendency I think that truck's going to have to kind of start to get a little bit loose. But, I mean, if it's working, stick with it. The gap right now is about half a second. Stinson closes it up just a little bit down the straightaways, but isn't really able to gain any more in the turns. As we watch him work his way off of turn number 2. Another big run right here, but unfortunately he lost 0.2 of a second through the corner. So it's just going to be about trying to get kind of back to equal the time that you lost. As he works down the straight, Grant Turner, Chase Greer have both gotten by Matthew Fritz, who has all of a sudden fallen off a cliff in terms of handling. And the Manny Rays 29 Chevy Silverado will cross the line now to see officially 11 laps to go here in stage number 2. I think for Matthew Fritz right now, he's going to need something, whether that be a caution or just to get to the end of this stage as soon as possible, because again, the handling has really fallen off for his race truck. David Trailer right now about 0.9 of a second out in front of Jay Stinson, and we keep focusing on these front 5 because that's really where most of the battling is out back. Again, Herbert, Hickox, and Parham, who sit 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're all kind of on an island by themselves. Matthew Fritz starting to fall back to them, but Chase Greer, Grant Turner, they're still doing a little bit of tandem draft down the straights here, as I think Greer is trying to set up a pass up top here on Grant Turner, and then it's Jay Stinson and David Trailer, the 2 trucks sitting 1 and 2 that I thought was going to set up for a little bit of a battle for the lead, but doesn't look like it, because David Trailer right now has pulled out to almost a second gap. Actually, it was over a second. Has now trimmed back down to about 0.8 seconds. Jay Stinson in the middle of the racetrack. He's trying to change his lineup now a little bit as well. For the 2 truck, even if he's not able to grab the stage win right here, you got to feel like there's at least a little bit of a bonus in some of the stuff he was able to learn through this stage with how his truck handles, how aggressive he's got to be. And if we compare that time delta for him compared to David Trailer, that shows you all you really need to know right there. Trailer has been slowly but surely continuing to put a gap on Jay Stinson. Started out as about almost half a second. 5 laps later, currently sits at, again, just over a second at the moment. If we compare lap times between these top 2, show you the difference there as well. 33.9 is the last 2 laps. 34.0 and 34.1 the last 2 laps. So Stinson a 1/10 to 2/10 slower. Or excuse me, 100 to 200 slower right now. I guess that would be a 10th technically. Either way, for David Trailer, he's going to be coming to 7 laps to go here in stage 2 when he crosses the line this next time. For the 54 at this point, it's all about managing. I believe everybody's going to be good to go without making a pit stop. I think if they were going to have to make one, they would have already brought it down to the pits for a splash of gas and maybe tires if you felt like you needed them. I haven't seen anybody bring it down just yet, so I think the general assumption right now is that nobody's going to need to. Here's Stinson rocketing down the front stretch. Grant Turner, Chase Greer, and Matthew Fritz. The biggest battle on track right now, and it's all the battle for that 3rd and final podium position. Grant Turner leads it, still running the bottom of the racetrack. Chase Greer has been up top. Matthew Fritz trying to catch these 2 after dropping heavily there over the course of about 5 laps once he lost the lead. And really, I mean, in the early stage, we saw the top work good, so I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but I'm almost starting to wonder now if that cooler track temp is the reason that this bottom lane just continues to be as strong as it is for as long as it is. David Trailer has been down there for quite a while and really has not lost any time. In fact, he just keeps getting faster and faster. At least can compare it to the truck in second. When it comes to fall off, Stinson falling off a lot more. And I mean, 69 degrees outside, 71 degree track temp. That's getting pretty close to about as cool as you can go for sim temps and track temp. But David Trailer right now, he's got that lead up to almost 2 seconds all of a sudden. He's really trying to stretch it out now with officially just 5 laps to go here in stage number 2. And for Trailer here, I was wondering if there was any possibility that he put a couple guys a lap down, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do so, at least not in this stage, as the biggest separation between him and the last place car is about just under half a track at the moment. And as long as we don't get a caution here, there's nothing in the way here of David Trailer taking stage number 2. By the way, for just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You're watching the Rhino Linings of Bristol 135 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Final race before the championship, a cutoff/elimination race that's going to determine which 4 drivers duke it out for a championship next week, and what is, who knows, potentially going to be the final season of the NOMA Truck Series, maybe even all time. You just never know. I know these guys are talking about switching the car, as they'll be doing a lot of recruiting on the offseason to re-strengthen the numbers of the field size. I know things have gotten really quite small, especially as the playoffs have gone on. I mean, really only 9 cars here tonight is about as small as I think I've ever seen a NOMA Truck Series field during a race, but just wasn't the strongest season in terms of numbers at the start, maybe about a half of a full field. And when you get into the playoffs and guys realize they don't have anything else to fight for, it gets kind of tough to want to come back and continue fighting, knowing how many laps a race is, how much practice you have to put in, and how much patience you got to have. Just a tough thing to do as a driver when, again, you're not really battling for anything. So with that being said, kudos to Grant Turner and John Buwaldo Jr. for still being able to get out here and try to make it happen, knowing that they're not necessarily fighting in the playoffs, but still out here fighting to try to grab another trophy or two before the season comes to an end. Speaking of coming to an end here, stage 2 getting ready to come to an end. Just 2 laps to go now for the 54 of David Traylor continues to lead. And that gap seems like it's going at about a second every couple of laps now. He's got it up to almost 3 seconds. Jay Stinson second. Chase Greer is third with Grant Turner back in fourth. You've got Matthew Fritz in fifth. Joey Hickok sixth. Justin Parham seventh with Jonathan Herbert in eighth. John Buwaldo Jr. again retired from the race, and so he's being scored, unofficially at least right now, with a 9th place finish. As David Traylor works his way off turn 4 this time, he will see the white flag in stage number 2. So just 1 lap to go here before they get another opportunity to pit for tires and fuel. And so this answers another question, that they can indeed make it about 30 laps. Looking at how we're going to go for this last stage, I think the setup's going to be probably go back green with about 65. That leaves us with about 70 laps to go. It'll be close to a one-stop. We'll have to see. Either way, as he works his way off turn 4, it was Fritz who was dominant in stage 1. Traylor, though, after saving some tire in the second half of stage 2, becomes a dominant truck, and he'll take stage 2 at Homestead, Miami. There you go, David Traylor, your stage winner. So he'll bring it around to catch the pace car once the caution comes out. By the way, it's Jay Stinson finishing second in the stage, and Chase Greer finishing in third. So once they catch the pace car here, they'll do a lap around before they get ready to get back to green flag racing. We'll give David a chance to catch the pace car here before we try to bring him up for an interview. And of course, I want to see if we can get a word with Matthew Fritz as well, who, by the way, fell all the way back to 5th. By the end of that stage, again, a big fall off for one of the drivers who was so fast early. Fritz is going to have to try to find something. See if he can get speed back in that truck. He's definitely got good short run speed. I think the questions were on the longer run. See if he's able to get himself dialed in here for the final stage. But again, shout out to Jay Stinson and Chase Greer, 2 Venom Racing teammates, for finishing on the podium there at the end of stage 2. All right, they've caught the pace car. I would assume pits are going to be open this time around. And so we'll go ahead and wait till pit stops wrap up here before we pull David Traylor up so that everybody can focus. Sometimes those things get very chaotic, and you'll see it here as we'll watch it from the pit lane views. Let's see, does David Traylor lead him down? Sure he does. David Traylor will bring it in. Jay Stinson's going to follow in suit, as does Grant Turner. And whoa, man, we almost had one truck, it looked like, right there. Get into the barrels. Was that Herbert? I mean, that was a little too close for comfort, I would argue. Let's see if it was that close from the cockpit view as well. Sure, if Herbert was just caught lacking a little bit here, what happened? No, I guess he wasn't as close as it looked. Certainly looks sketchy for a moment there for Jonathan Herbert. All right, now that everybody's in their box, question is, who's going to win the race out? A crucial one for who's going to start on the front row here for the final stage of this race. Watching for who's going to win that race out. Looks like Traylor's got the advantage. Can Fritz get the jack drop quick enough? No, he can't. David Traylor's going to win the race out of pit road. Stinson takes second. And the top 3, with Chase Greer coming out third, will all stay in the positions that they finish this stage in. All right, let's go see if we can bring up your stage 2 winner, David Traylor. Let's see how he's feeling about his truck right now. Hey, David, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, gotcha, Austin.
Well, he grabbed the stage 2 win, and the big question is, I mean, what was the adjustment? You were chasing Matthew Fritz all of stage 1, stage 2. We don't really see you with a ton of speed the first half. Looked like you guys were pretty even, and then all of a sudden you just started capping the field there towards the end.
Honestly, clean air. Just being able to get into a rhythm. I had one of those guys in front of me, one of them on the outside. I couldn't really run the line that I wanted to. I was kind of just forced to run where I had space. So once I got free, it took a little bit of kind of driving a little more aggressive than I'd like. But once I got free of them, just got into my rhythm and didn't look back.
Indeed, and so far so good. But now that we're in that final stage, it's going to be a little bit longer. What becomes the game plan now here, knowing that we're going to have to make at least 1, potentially 2 green flag stops?
I feel pretty good. Obviously, I know I've got long run speed. So hopefully I can probably drive a little hard, keep these guys behind me. And if I can make it about 15 laps in and get clean air, I think I'll be okay here.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey, David, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the Stage 2 win. We'll see if we're talking to you again at the end of this race.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Austin.
All right, there you go. And unfortunately, even without a commercial break, doesn't look like we're going to have enough time here to bring up Matthew Fritz, at least not yet. If we get another caution, then we'll try again. I do apologize, but lights are off on the pace car, and we're coming through 3 and 4. Means we're getting ready to get back to green flag racing. So again, it looks like it's going to be exactly 71 laps to go here at Homestead when we get the green. And so the idea here, at least I would think for most of the field, is try to split this into about 35 and 36 laps. Now, if they can go that far, I'm not sure. If you see them pit any time before then, I would have to assume that they can't go that far and that would make it a 2-stop race from here to the finish. Green flag back in the air. David Traylor beats everybody down to turn 1, gets about a 3-truck length lead, as a matter of fact, by the time they get to the first corner. Back, a lot of side-by-side here. I'm watching to see if there's maybe a little contact back here, but I guess not. Jay Stinson able to get away with his second place spot, and here's Matthew Fritz battling pretty aggressive with his teammate Chase Greer. Is he going to be able to stay tucked to his outside? Not quite. Fritz now going to look for a bit of a crossover off of turn 2. Nothing doing there, and for Matthew Fritz, I think what he's going to start to realize here is that if Stinson continues to stay in front of him at this rate, he may have to think about trying some sort of strategy that's going to get him the win, because, I mean, Stinson already had such a good run through the first 2 stages that even with Fritz having a decent run through the first stage, it may not get him there in terms of just points. Justin Parham was 24 points to the good. So again, I don't think for Parham's sake that he can really fall below that cut line tonight. I just don't see any way that it's possible, especially with only 9 trucks in the field. However, for Jay Stinson, he most certainly can if Matthew Fritz were to steal a win tonight. David Traylor off with a pretty early jump. I mean, he's already got it out to a second over Jay Stinson, and maybe is it just that clean air that he mentioned in his interview, or is he trying a bit of a different approach? Is Stinson maybe trying to save a little bit of tire this time? See David Traylor still working all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack, and he arcs it so late. You see everybody else trying to go so soon into the corner and just relying on the throttle and trying to kind of let the truck aero push up, which is great, especially on new tires. I mean, it's a pretty fast line. The problem is the tires start to wear out. That line gets really tough to run as the truck tends to get tight. David Traylor running on the bottom, though, right now. Sorry, I got caught reading the chat from Nancy Hickox here. Says, hey, Austin, the driver should be told they sign up for the season and they're expected to race the whole season. There are many reasons to miss a race, but not being in a championship is not one. Yeah, you got that right, Nancy. I completely agree. That's why we said shout out to Grant Turner and John Buwalter Jr. for still making the race here tonight. The point I was trying to wrap up on, though, is for Stinson, I think the line he was running is fast early, but I think David Traylor has really got this inside groove figured out with that really, really late arc down into the corner. Sets him up to have a much straighter approach on exit, not have to burn off as much front tire, and also not get as loose either. So Traylor's got the magic line right now working for him. As when we cross the line this time, it'll officially be 70 of 135 laps complete. By the way, if you're just tuning in, as is Nancy Hickox, hope that you are having a good Saturday night. Might have mentioned earlier, if I said Friday, I apologize. At the end of a semester here in college, so finals are starting to blend everything together, but the NOMA Truck Series, again, will wrap up next week, and then we'll have a little bit of a longer off-season than what we're used to seeing. These guys going to go out and do a lot of recruiting. The sponsorship is there. This is the thing I try to mention just about every time we get the opportunity. I think that the NOMA Truck Series, of all the leagues I broadcast, has one of the best backings from a whole bunch of different sponsors to help provide any of the fees that help get things done. On the broadcasting side, for the race prize side, everything. And so all the sponsorships there, and it's just been kind of a rough season in terms of driver count, but as soon as these guys go do some recruiting, I think you're going to see a really big class for the next season of drivers. And it is going to be a fun one to watch, especially if we're in a new car. A new challenge for a lot of these drivers who have become veterans in the trucks to have to deal with. But up front, up front, in the third spot, Chase Greer trying to fend off his teammate Matthew Fritz. Grant Turner still sitting right in the mix of this battle as well. And for David Traylor here, right now still leading. You see right there, it says pits. That is not accurate. Give you a little refresh here. See if SDK can re-update that. And sure enough, doesn't look like it's going to do it for us here tonight. So apologies for that. But either way, give it one more shot here. I was going to say either way, though, for David Traylor, looking at that first pit stop, at least if they're able to make it to the distance that we were predicting, I think for Traylor that would be right around, I think if we went green, with about 65 laps complete. If he can make it 35, 36, he's going to be looking to try to pit right around the lap 100 mark of this race, which is still going to be about, at this point, 27 laps or so away. So Traylor still a decent ways to go here before we get anywhere close to what could be the final pit stop in this race. Stinson still sitting in second. The battle for third, though, continues to be the one to kind of get fixated on here, as Fritz now trying the bottom of the racetrack. That's where he's looked the most uncomfortable all night. He was so fast up top early, and so you still do wonder for this 29 machine, can he find some speed on the bottom of the racetrack? And if so, does he all of a sudden have some speed to go try to track down Jay Stinson and David Traylor? You saw right there, that arc almost looked a little similar to what David Traylor has been running. Watch out front, out of his windshield here. What kind of line is Stinson running? Stinson, it looks like, is starting to run a similar arc as well. That time, Fritz not able to get into the corner as well. I think he hit that apex a little too soon. And Stinson running that same line now as David Traylor has started to track him down just a little bit. By the way, 75 laps complete, so we are, I believe, officially at the halfway point in this race. Indeed, well over it. And so it's Jay Stinson now back to the top through 1 and 2, looking for some momentum. I really think Jay should stay to the bottom here. He found something. He found a lot of speed. And maybe he's trying it just in 1 and 2, or excuse me, in 3 and 4. Maybe in 1 and 2, he feels like the truck's the best up top. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that turn 3 and 4 runs a lot different than 1 and 2 here at Homestead. They look the exact same. They're set up to be the exact same. But as all racetracks are, they never run the exact same. Not a big difference, but enough of one. And actually, as a matter of fact, I think that people tend to get a little bit looser off of turn 2, but don't quote me on that, as we've seen drivers getting loose on both ends of the racetrack here tonight. Stinson, though, continues to try to stay on this high side as he tries to track down David Traylor through 1 and 2 and work back to the low side over here in 3 and 4. Also, what he's trying to do is see if he can get his nose down just a little bit sooner than the 54, try to get a little clean air on it. But to not much avail, at least not yet. 77 of 135 laps now complete. Matthew Fritz in third. And all of a sudden, now that he got by, those two still battling it out behind him, Grant Turner and Chase Greer. He's now started to show some pace to get back towards the front of the field. And so Matthew Fritz in a third spot. Can he catch? That's going to be the big question. And really, there's not much strategy to be played in this pit stop. That's why it's all about just trying to catch different drivers here over the course of the long run. Because again, if you think about it, even if you were splitting it in half, which, that's really the only strategy that works if it ends up being a one stop, then you're going to take 4 tires, fuel, and everybody's going to be pitting at about the same exact lap. Maybe one sooner, maybe one later, but not enough of a tire difference to really separate anybody from trying either a short pitch strategy or trying to run it out long if everybody else pitch short. So you're going to have pretty similar tire wear, at least if you're managing it the same. So now I almost think that if you're Jay Stinson, you're within 2/10 of Traylor. If you feel like to get to him, you keep having to really push it, don't push it. Just stick where you are right now, kind of ride around. Keep him within arm's reach. And then when we get to that green flag stop, execute on pit road. And when you come out, set yourself up again to try to battle with them in the early portion of that final run when the tires are still fresh and you got a little bit more speed to work with. And if it somehow ended up being a 2-stop, then of course that would open the door for potentially some strategy play. You would assume that you wouldn't see anybody take any any tires on one of those 2 stops. Trailer right there. Maybe bump the apron just a little bit. Wondered if it would help Stinson out. Doesn't look like it does much. 80 of 135 laps now complete, as this will put us at 55 to go when they cross the line this next time. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and take another break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us as David Traylor leads at Homestead. Can Jay Stinson track him down?
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Drink Company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
We're back to Homestead Miami Speedway with the Rhino Linings of Bristol, 135. Before we take it back to full screen, did want to show everybody what the remaining schedule looks like, just in case you haven't heard me say it already. Well, there's only one race remaining, and that is the Championship 4 race, which will again be next week at Legacy Atlanta. 150 laps with stage breaks on lap 35 and lap 70 to crown a NOMA Truck Series champion. So make sure that you tune in for that one. Should be a good one to wrap up the season. And again, you never know, could potentially be the final Truck Series championship on the line. So it may mean just that much more to some of these drivers, especially if we have somebody in it that has never won one, which I don't think David Traylor has ever won a NOMA Truck Series championship. I'm not sure about Jay Stinson. I know Joey Hickox has. And then, of course, it's going to all depend on who's that 4th spot. Justin Parham, who won it, I believe, last season. So that sets us up for kind of a couple scenarios. We'll, of course, focus on that next week once we get to it. But here tonight, closing in now on what'll be 45 laps to go and just a couple laps time. And for David Traylor, expecting that final green flag stop sometime in probably about the next 10 to 12 laps. But the further he can stretch it towards the end of that window, increasing the probability that he makes it on a 1 stop. Joey Hickox, by the way, not on the lead lap. Looks like he's actually being scored 1 lap down. And so for Joey Hickox, he's going to have to hope for a caution at least. If he's not able to get one, that'll probably end his chances at least of a win here tonight. But the good news for Joey is, of course, last week he got the job done at Las Vegas. So doesn't have to worry about it so much here tonight, having a bad run. Now, Legacy Atlanta That's one of the tracks that Joey mentions he's a fan of. He likes that track. And I think that is kind of interesting because we know that Joey likes Texas. We know that he likes Las Vegas. But, I guess I should say he did also mention, he said it's not necessarily my best track. I think it's really, really tough, but he likes the way that the trucks drive there. So we'll have to see if Joey's a favorite next week. And so it'll now be officially 90 of 135 laps complete. That officially puts us at that 46 lap to go mark, just one away from 45. And remember, that fuel window we think is about 35 laps. So if I'm saying 45 to go, that's how I'm doing the math to say that about 10 laps from now is when I think we'll see what I assume would be that final green flag pit stop. Unless anybody has any fuel concerns, but it certainly hasn't looked like it, at least not yet. We knew they could go at least 30 laps because that's what they did in stage 2. We are now starting to stretch beyond that, or getting close to, and then going to stretch beyond that before we get to that first green flag stop. And then Matthew Fritz in the 29. Manny Rays Mafia Machine still with a good run. I think he found some speed, but I think it took him just a little too long, and I think now he's pretty much going to need a caution if he wants any chance of getting back in this one. By the way, Kenneth Redinger in the chat says, Nancy, I think it has become a competition issue. Why show up when one guy is a near lock to win every weekend? And I could see that, Kenneth. I've seen that before in a lot of different leagues that I've ran. Certainly makes things a little bit tough for league owners. But it's also tough as a driver, right? I mean, if you come out each week and you're fast, I mean, what do? You don't want to go out there and try to sandbag the field and go slow. So I definitely see kind of both sides of that. I mean, as a driver, you want to go out there and do the best you can. If you're just that good, you're that good. And we've seen that before from Kenneth himself, but I think that the guy that everybody's kind of referring to this season is, of course, David Traylor, who's been dominant not only in the NOMA Truck Series, but also the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. So that plays a big part of it. And the other side of it, as a league owner that I was mentioning, is I see that cause a lot of issues sometimes for different leagues. Owners, they like everybody, but there's been situations, and again, by no means am I saying this is a situation with NOMA. I'm just talking kind of in reference here to some of the things I've seen where they've gotten rid of guys that are really, really good and said, listen, we don't want to do it. We hate to do it, but it's really the only way that we can sustain our league. Everybody's leaving because one driver keeps dominating, but of course, not necessarily the whole part of the reason for that this season. Just happens to be, though, that David Traylor has been on fire, and he's looking to keep it up. I think he's got to be the championship 4 favorite. I think also some of the reasons are just maybe not quite the best recruiting effort last season into this season. And, of course, with the Super Speedway Series shutting down as well, may have taken a few drivers out of the question because of that as well. So we talked about your top 3. You see them on the track map. Stinson and Traylor are still separated by under 2 seconds. But I think Traylor's going to start to stretch that out more and more here as we get closer to the pit stop. And Matthew Fritz still sitting in 3rd. Grant Turner, as we see the first kind of clump of trucks, still battling with Chase Greer, who right now sits in that 5th spot. And then you've got Justin Parham back in 6th, trying to track these two down. Jonathan Herbert in 7th. Joey Hickok's going to be the next truck to go what would be his 2nd lap down, as he currently sits in 8th. David Traylor, as he crosses the line this time, that should put him at about 4 to 5 laps or so away from that green flag pit stop. Now, you do got to execute here, and it is a tricky one for multiple reasons. Number one, just the pit entry here is really, really tough. And actually, I'll try to show you here right there. You see those yellow sand barrels? Those are really, really easy to hit if you lock up or get in just a little bit too hot as soon as you go from, of course, the banking to transition onto that flat. So you got to be really careful with that. And then also on exit, you see that access road now to the left of David Traylor. You do have to take that access road to get back on the racetrack, and it's pretty narrow. You get 2 tires in the grass or get a little bit loose and spin out, that could cost you your race if you're one of these top 3. So for David Traylor here, as he crosses the line this time, that'll mark just 3 to go. Stinson still trying to do anything he can here to just manage whatever kind of gap he can. And for Stinson, he's just hoping and praying that we get to this first green flag stop as soon as possible. He's about 2 laps away. I think at 3 or 4, actually. He could be anywhere from 2 to 4 laps away, I suppose. Stinson all by himself. There's Matthew Fritz kind of in the background. As we look at the gearbox view, you can see just how much distance there is between himself and Fritz. They're separated by just over 2.5 seconds. And then up front, the gap between David Traylor and Stinson now well over 2 seconds. Still no pit stop up front right there from David Traylor that time. We'll see if... Nope, doesn't look like anybody else is going to bring it down this time either, as the battle for that 4th position continues here. Look at this. 3 trucks going at it. Grant Turner, Chase Greer, side by side. Parham deciding where to go, who to help, or if he wants to split them 3 wide. Couldn't make a decision, so he's going to stay tucked in line behind Chase Greer for now. If that 8 truck can get clear, you wonder if he'll stay down long enough to try to pull the 19 with him. Now Parham's going to go right back to the top. Maybe the plan is to keep these 2 side by side to try to stall them out, make them waste their stuff, and then try to get by both of them here, either before the pit stop or just after it. Either way, all this side-by-side racing right here continues to make them lose touch with Matthew Fritz, who sits in 3rd. And right now is, at least at the moment, about 3 seconds ahead of these guys. Grant Turner finally going to get that spot back, but oh, he blows it. Goes into the outside wall. Chase Greer followed him in. That gave Parham a big run, but not quite enough to slide clear of either of these 2. All right, and so this will be coming to the lap 100 mark. Traylor stays out. Now we're at the point where I would expect him to pit either this lap coming up or the lap after. Any further than that, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, but I just didn't think that they could really make it that far on fuel. I thought that 35 would be really kind of starting to push it. I didn't figure they could make 40 with 75% in the tank. So for David Traylor right here, watch as he comes through 3 and 4. We'll go to the cockpit view, see if he tries to bring it down this time. This will put him at 35 laps to go. So he should be good to make it. He's going to pit. Nope, doesn't look like it. Traylor's going to stay out. Stinson will stay out as well. So does Matthew Fritz. Wow, I thought for sure we'd see at least 1 stop this time around, but doesn't appear so. We do actually. I take it back. Chase Greer, he may have pit the last time around. He did. So Chase Greer is actually the first pit stop of the night. And he's going to take 4 tires and fuel before he'll make his way back out onto the racetrack. So now you wonder, even though Chase wasn't necessarily one of the front runners, that should start to encourage the rest of them to bring it down to the pits as well. Parham has now brought it down to the pits. And the 19, he'll pull into his box without issue. Here comes David Traylor. Watch as he tries to get nice and easy. Ooh, man, a little bit of a wobble right there. Traylor, though, able to get it woed up. Stay away from those barrels, as Matthew Fritz is going to woe it down as well. He also gets in without any issue. See, does Grant Turner pit this time? No, he doesn't. Will Herbert pit this time? Let's see what happens here. Right there. Ooh, watch out. Another clean stop there. That's Jonathan Herbert. Nice job. David Traylor, 4 tires and fuel will be the call. So this is interesting. Stinson able to stay out at least 1 lap more. We'll see if he can push 2. But either way, him staying out that extra lap will give him slightly fresher tires. I don't know if it'll be enough. But it's certainly an interesting call for Jay Stinson to stay out that extra lap to see if he can turn the tides in one way or another here on David Traylor, who has been dominant up to this point. So for Stinson, it's going to be the same call as what everybody else took. 4 tires and fuel before he makes his way back out for his final run of the night. See the right side go up first. So continue to fill it with Sunoco fuel on the left side. Then the tire changers, the invisible ones, will run around, change the left sides as well. And as they prop the truck up, he'll come out with just under 20 laps to go. Excuse me, it's going to be just under 30 laps to go. Just over, I apologize, 30 laps to go in this race. And Nancy Hickok says in the chat, agreed, Kenneth, but the more racers you have, the more potential winners you have. I also think that the less drivers you have, the less ability is required. Of course, I've never raced. I'll stop. Joey's going to get mad at me. Sorry if I've offended anyone. Nancy, you cannot offend anyone. You are speaking facts. And that's, I mean, it's true. And that's not to say a diss on anybody in here when you talk about, you know, less drivers, less abilities required. I mean, that's just common sense. Less trucks on the track, less that you got to pass. But at the same time, I think some of them would argue that the drivers that are still out here are some of the best of the best. And they all continue to fight for one championship. And we'll crown the winner of that next week. But it has been all David Traylor since about the second half of Stage 2. And it's looking like it might continue that way here for these final 30 laps or so of the race. So again, the person we're going to be keeping an eye on here is Stinson. Maybe even Matthew Fritz a little bit, who got back in front of Justin Parham. But Stinson's the closest person to David Traylor. Now, granted, I don't know if Traylor was just that much better on the pit stop, or if the time on new tires really just made him that much of a difference. And let's see if we can actually look at the lap times here. So the pit stop lap you see was 103. The first lap after that was a 33.0 for Stinson. The first lap for Trailer after the pit stop, 32.9, 32.8. And so he is still significantly by at least a tenth or two faster than Jay Stinson at the moment. And so with that, I think if you're Jay here, you either got to start pushing the issue or just commit right now to saving as much tire as you can and then hoping that you can track him down at the end. I just don't know, though, if he's going to quite have enough laps left in this race to try to make it happen. You see Joey Hickox there briefly went out of the bottom of the screen as one of the drivers that is in danger of, well, he got his lap back technically for now, but I would assume he's probably going to lose it again before this race is over, either if he has to make a pit stop or just David Traylor's going to catch him here in probably 5 to 10 laps or so. So that's how it's looking right now for Joey Hickox. For David Traylor, though, he wants to see that 25 lap to go marker and know that slowly but surely we're getting closer and closer to the end of this race. Ooh, see Joey Hickox with a brief blink right there. Know that had to make Traylor a little bit nervous, and now Joey's going to pull over to the right and let him go. And if we look here, the right rear, actually we'll go to the right front. You see Traylor on the high side. There you go. Joey's going to bring it back down to the pits. So all that was for Joey Hickox right there was just staying out as long as he possibly could with the hopes that maybe we would get a caution when he got back on the lead lap there briefly so that he could pit under caution and stay on the lead lap. But unfortunately, that doesn't work out. And that's the other thing you see less of too. When you get these smaller fields, the chance of a caution goes down significantly, which of course changes the dynamic of how you got to approach these races. You got to kind of almost start to assume that there's not going to be cautions. And so you go from practicing short and long runs to just trying to make sure that you're good to go on the long runs, knowing that we're only going to have stages. And then obviously that final stage being the longest is where we really see the long run come into play. But for David Traylor here, I mean, he's been good in both, but wondered through those first two stages, we had mentioned it during the time, he was just going to keep committing to the bottom to see how much tire he would have to save before he would be able to outpace everybody else. He figured it out, and it has paid off since. Now, looking at the time delta right now between Jay Stinson and David Traylor, let's see, has it closed up at all for Stinson here? Yeah, it has closed up a little bit. Fortunately, maybe not as much as Jay Stinson would like, but that gap went from about 6.2 seconds down to, well, right now about 6 seconds. So he's gained about half a second, a little bit more since then. He's got it down to about 5.9 now. But again, that pace, coming to 25 laps to go, I still just don't know and don't really think that it's going to be quite enough for Jay Stinson to get there. Continue to try to make it happen here. But the 54 machine of David Traylor has not slowed down much at all. I mean, we can compare the lap times once again, give you one more view of the difference. And Traylor now running 33 flat, 33.2. Stinson 32.9 and 33 flat. So Stinson has been better. You can see there the plus red symbol for David Traylor, signaling that Traylor was slower over the course of the last 5 laps. We know that. We know that Stinson's catching, but again, without a caution, just don't think it's going to be enough. And also, as each lap goes by, those tires start to even out a little bit more and more each lap. 24 laps to go now at Homestead Miami Speedway. And if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. By the way, quick reminder, next place that we head here on PGR eSports is going to be, well, since Tuesday Night Thunder's over, probably Wednesday night to Roughneck Racing for their Madness Money Racing Series. So make sure that you check that out if you get the opportunity. But 24, going to be 23 laps to go as we look at Matthew Fritz right here, who still sits in third. Definitely a strong recovery from Fritz after the early struggles. Unfortunately, though, same deal for Fritz, where as great of a run as it was here tonight, it's not going to be enough. Parham had too big of a lead for him to try to outdo Parham in points. And then Jay Stinson, of course, who sits in second, overall picture has had just a bit of a better night than Matthew Fritz. Fritz did get the best of him in stage 1, but Stinson got the better finish in stage 2, and right now is setting up to get the better finish here in the final stage, which should be enough with a 14-point cushion to keep Jay Stinson in front and put him in the championship 4. And if it stays that way, then how your championship 4 would shape up would be you would have 2 Venom Racing drivers, Joey Hickox and Jay Stinson, and then 2 of the Grandstand Racing teammates in David Traylor, and then, of course, Justin Parham. Trailer crosses the line. This time he'll see 21 laps to go. This is where you now start to slowly think about that white flag just a little bit. Starts to creep into your mind. He knows that we're 20 laps away from it, and once we get that white flag, that is when the race is official, and he no longer has to worry about a caution hindering the plan. So 21 to go. David Trailer continuing to lead. Chase Stinson second. Matthew Fritz is in third. Justin Parr back in fourth. Grant Turner's in fifth. And then you've got Chase Greer sixth. Jonathan Herbert in seventh. Joey Hickok's in eighth, 2 laps down. And John Buwalda Jr., of course, had to retire from the race earlier. Not sure exactly if it was a technical issue or if just he had enough for the night, but again, has called it since then. And for Grant Turner, as we hop back on the onboard view for Turner, sitting in fifth, down 3 spots from where he started this race at. But for Grant Turner, driver out of Akron, Ohio, right now he'll see 20 laps to go. Let's see if he can cap off a top 5. That'd be a good finish. He'd finish ahead of 3 of the round of 8 playoff drivers. So certainly a good effort here tonight from Grant Turner. All right, 20 laps to go. We're going to be coming to 19 to go when David Trailer crosses the line this time. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take one more break for the night. But again, we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be back to see who's going to win it tonight at Homestead.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Uh-oh.
Drink Company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway, the Rhino Linings of Bristol, 135. Just 14, coming to 13 laps to go for David Trailer as he tries to cap off the last race before the championship with yet another win in what has been a very dominant season for the 54 machine. And with 13 to go, Jay Stinson, that gap has kind of started to even out at around 5.2 seconds. Hasn't been able to really gain any more since. Matthew Fritz still sitting in third. Justin Parr back in fourth. Grant Turner, though, maybe closing up right here on Parham. This could set up to be a bit of a battle here over the course of the next lap. Let's go to the cockpit view. Let's see here. Grant Turner, is he going to be able to make a move on Justin Parham? So as they work off into turn number 3, Turner's going to take the high side. Parham will stick to the bottom. Turner's going to have to get a big run here and cross him back to the inside. Parham will slide up. Turner not with enough momentum there. That's surprising. Looked like Turner's truck looked very, very good on the high side right there, but I guess Parham just had that much more grip on the bottom, and now Turner's going to enter the corner really, really early. Looks like he does roll up to the back bumper, but he'll lose it on exit here. As Parham's able to get a little bit more momentum. 12 laps to go now. This is really the only battle left on the racetrack. Everybody else is separated by so much. There's just not really much to look at right now. But for Grant Turner, this was to hang on to that 5th position. Actually, excuse me, to go up to that 4th spot. And then for Justin Parham, well, Parham doesn't necessarily need this spot. I think, again, that he will be kind of secured into the championship for regardless. I just don't think there was enough trucks to really cost him here tonight with the gap that he had coming into this race in terms of the point standings. But he still would like to round it out with, again, a good top 5 finish here. And 4th place at this point in the race is where you really have to battle for it. And Turner's not going to just let him walk away with it. Parham's not just going to let Turner have it. With 10 laps to go, Grant Turner really, really close to the outside wall that time. I thought he was in the wall for a minute. He was so close. That was just Turner trying to find any sort of speed that he could up there. Watch it from the right front view here. Well, he's going to take the bottom, try to get a little bit of clean air. He's got to check up in the middle of the corner before he can get back on the throttle. And so for Grant Turner, I think the best thing for him right here is going to be just kind of trying the same line that's been working in 1 and 2, even though it seems a little bit obscure, something that we don't see too often. It is working. But right here, oh, there it is. Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say, is once he gets in the wall, that's going to kind of end his chances, as now he'll lose about another 2 to 5 car lengths on Justin Parham with just 9 laps to go now. By the way, these two are sitting about 12 seconds behind the leader, David Traylor. So for David Traylor here, as he will work through 3 and 4 without any issues, he will now see officially 8 laps to go here at Homestead Miami Speedway. And I'll tell you what, this is one of those tracks that even the racing tonight that we saw, especially in Stage 2, was really, really good. Even in Stage 3 there for a little bit, it was kind of the same. But I think this would be a fun track to see back on the schedule, regardless of the series that we're in. I think it just provides really great racing because of how many options you have. You can do the bottom, the top, the middle. You can try an arc, an apex, anything you want to try into the corner. And it seems like every line can find speed at different points during the run. So again, really like what we've seen at Homestead here tonight. And hopefully we'll get to see it again in future seasons. Wouldn't even mind if we had the championship race here. I know that Legacy Atlanta is certainly going to be a good one as well. 7 laps to go. Stinson has now started to fall back a little bit. We talked about he got that gap down to about 5.2 seconds. And if you look at that time delta there, it's been extending pretty consistently now. Stinson, at least, let's go up here to show you what that time delta has been doing between Traylor and Stinson right there. So you can see that about 5 laps ago it was 5.3, and it's been pretty steadily increasing since then, which is kind of going to mark the end of any chance that Jay Stinson had at tracking down this 54 truck without the help of a caution here in these last 5.5 laps or so. As David Traylor currently works his way through 1 and 2. You saw Joey Hickox catching his teammate Jay Stinson. That was not for position, that was for Hickox trying to get as close as he can to get a lap back. And by the way, for Joey right now, you see where he sits on track, not going to be able to get back to the leader to get one of those laps back. Herbert, the other truck, a lap down. Right now, the first truck a lap down and the closest to your leader, David Traylor, in terms of trying to get that lap back. And then Chase Greer, right now the last truck on the lead lap, he sits just, looks like just under half a track ahead of David Traylor. And so with just 5, going to be 4 laps to go, he should be okay. Shouldn't have to necessarily worry about getting caught at that point, or rather at this point. So for David Traylor now, it's just all about getting to this white flag. 6 seconds now the gap. It'll be 4 to go. That means 3 laps away from making this race official. David Traylor, not only has he won a lot in the regular season, but we talked about he's won a lot in even the postseason. I mean, you look at some of the races that he's won, and it's just like doesn't stop. He got the job done at Chicagoland. He got the job done at Nashville. He got the job done at Kansas. That was 3 in a row. Almost made it 4 in a row, but missed out on Texas. The race before that, though, he got the win at Charlotte. You look back to the beginning of the season where he first kicked off his winning at. That was at Auto Club. Got the job done as well at Indianapolis. That was really, really when Traylor started to pick up. That's been dominant pretty much ever since. David Traylor now just 2 laps away from making this race official and 3 laps away from grabbing the win at Homestead Miami Speedway. Off of turn number 2, nice and clean again. No pressure out back, no lap traffic to deal with out front. Stinson well over 6 seconds back. He will not catch. Matthew Fritz trying to hang on to the final podium spot. Looks like Parham might be starting to track him down, but he's still got about a second gap. Should be enough for Matthew Fritz to hold on if he doesn't make any major mistakes. And then it's Grant Turner, Chase Greer separated by quite a good margin. And Jonathan Herbert back here just in front of Stinson at the moment. And so 2 laps to go right now as David Traylor works his way off of turn number 2. And when Traylor crosses line this time, that'll be it. Race will be official. And with nobody anywhere close to each other at the moment on the track, any chance of caution is very, very slim. But you never know. It's one of the things that you always worry about, that late caution to change the complexity of the race. But it won't happen tonight. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for David Traylor. And the Rhino Linings of Bristol, 135. Traylor running that same line that he has been running all night. It worked for him from not quite the start. Actually took about halfway through the race, or at least halfway through stage 2 before that line really started to pick up and find speed, at least in the long run. But he found it later in the short run when he got the job done early and then pulled away from everybody else late, got to the pit stop clean, and ends the race with almost a 7-second gap on a second place. Coming across the front stretch, David Traylor's going to win it at Homestead Miami. He'll add another win to the record and go into the championship 4 next week with the most momentum of any driver that will be in the championship 4. Unofficially, we'll go over the results first and then unofficially give you an idea of who we believe will be in that championship 4 picture. But David Traylor, driver out of Conyers, Georgia, with another win here tonight. And as he'll bring it around to celebrate. Take a look at your finishing results here tonight. Again, race winner David Traylor. Jay Stinson finishes in 2nd. Matthew Fritz back in 3rd with Justin Parham 4th. Grant Turner 5th. Chase Greer in 6th. Jonathan Herbert back in 7th. Joey Hickox in 8th. And John Buwaldo Jr. rounding out the field. He finishes in 9th. All right, David Traylor brings it to the front stretch. He'll burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands. He's going to hope to be able to do that one more time, potentially next week. So as he celebrates, unofficially, what I believe your championship 4 will be, and again, unofficial, the admins still have to do point standings, but we know David Traylor, Joey Hickox are both locked in with wins. I think Justin Parham has locked himself in, or not locked himself in, but will advance via points to the 3rd spot in the championship 4. And the final championship 4 position, I believe, will go to Jay Stinson, who finished 2nd in this race here tonight, with Matthew Fritz being the first one to just miss it. All right, so as David Traylor continues to celebrate and burn it down, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Homestead. All right, welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner, David Traylor. David, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Austin, I got you.
Well, you looked really good in that final stage. I know we had a chance to talk to you at the end of stage 2. You walked us through the general game plan through stage 3. You executed to perfection. And man, I mean, overall, kind of tell us what it was like in that 3rd stage, knowing that it was, it was a long stage, but we kind of had an idea that it would go green from the start of it.
Yeah, like I said, when I talked to you before, I kind of had a plan. The biggest thing, like I said, was just keeping the clean air. Once I knew I could do that, I felt pretty confident. I was able to kind of watch lap times and see. I knew Jay was quicker than me on the short run, but I feel like I had probably the best long run car. So yeah, like I said, just keeping it caution free was nice. And like I said, we found our mark tonight.
Yeah, absolutely did. You add on another win to the season, and next week, I mean, that's what it all comes down to, right? The championship 4, that's what it's all about. So how do you go get ready for it, and what can we expect next week at Legacy Atlanta?
You know, it's one of my favorite tracks. I was able to get the win there last night in AOR. Granted, it's the Xfinity car, but yeah, I love that track. It's loose, it's hot, it's fast. You got to have throttle control, and you know, I feel like those are my strengths. So really, just go in there, get some practice in, hopefully this week, and see if we can come out on top after the season we've had.
Absolutely. Well, David, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate and get ready for next week, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks to my team over here at Grandstand. Justin, he had a pretty good run tonight. They kind of took me in the season. Thanks to my sponsor this year, QH Design. If you need marketing material, hats, shirts, vinyls, signs, whatever you can think of, any kind of marketing material, just reach out to QH Design. Thank you to Jay and Joey for putting this league on. I know it's kind of hard to get the participation, you know, Saturday nights with the holidays and college football and everything else going on, but I appreciate what they do here. Big thank you to you over at PGR. I know it's final season. I've been there. I know the stress it brings. So we appreciate you being out here doing the broadcast for us. I love going back and watching it. And then thanks to my fiance for letting me do this, my dad watching at home, and Tommy for supporting me.
Absolutely. Well, the final tests may be for me this week, but the real final test for you is going to be next weekend at Legacy Atlanta. So, David, we appreciate you talking to us. And, of course, congrats on the win here tonight. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Austin.
All right. Now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight. For Venom Racing, it is Jay Stinson. JJ, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's going on, Austin? How are you?
Good. Well, you bring home a second place finish, and man, it was kind of interesting. We saw a lot of speed from you at different points in this race, the second stage, and then early in the third stage. Where did you feel like the truck finally started to give out, and do you wish you could have changed anything during that final pit stop to maybe try to catch 54?
Nah, I mean, I could have went earlier, but on the pit stop, but I was just wanting to have fresher tires. So everybody's racing for second, so you know, nobody was catching him. Seemed like every time that we would slow down, he'd get faster. So however that happens, that happens. It's I don't know. That makes no sense, but it is what it is. He's figured something out. So every time we got to running, and we just fade worse than he would. So just made for a long race, man. Just couldn't catch him or couldn't do anything with him. He's just that good.
A long race indeed, but either way, you know that most likely, again, unofficially, we have you as making the championship 4. So how do you go get prepared for that, and how much would it mean to get that championship next week?
No, I'd love to get one. It's been fun. Like, me and the guys in the Discord always have a good time talking and hanging out, and that's really what I enjoy. The racing's fun, don't get me wrong. And I'd love to get a championship if we could work it out and figure it out. So just have to do some practice and see if we can get in there and figure out how to stay fast for as long as we possibly can.
Indeed. Well, hey, Jay, before we let you head out here tonight, we appreciate you talking to us. So is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, of course, you, man, for showing up. I know this ain't the biggest field you've dealt with. We've had some, for whatever reason, it just slacked off, and there ain't been a lot of attendance. Playoffs may be a cause of some of it, but hopefully next season we'll pick that up in the changing of the car and all that kind of stuff. So we'll announce that this week coming up into the championship race. So we will be changing. I'll let you guys know what we're changing to then. All our sponsors for coming out and letting us do what we do, from Rhino Linings of Bristol, who sponsored this race tonight, and Flatwoods, and Abingdon Collision and Towing, to H&H, to Manny Rays, who has been with us for, you know, every year we've done this just about. So thank all those guys, Blue Ridge, and then M&M Pet Sittings, Matt's mom's company, for sponsoring us, and then all my teammates for coming in and hanging out.
And Jay, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the second place finish here tonight, and we will see you next week in the championship 4.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Austin.
All right. Well, now that'll bring us to your final podium finisher of the night, and that is Matthew Fritz. Hey, Matthew, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, man, you looked really, really good through stage 1. In fact, you got the stage victory. Pretty good through stage 2, but it seemed like the truck fell off briefly before you figured it out again. What kind of happened there? Take us through that. And then once you started to figure it back out, was it just too late?
Yeah, I can't believe, I had a win tonight to be in the championship 4 next week. And, it felt great. Stage one, led some laps, led all the laps. And then the top side just stopped working for me at the end. And then I went to the bottom and started working again. And I started catching up, but it was just too late.
Yeah, a little too late there, but I mean, overall, still a good run, bringing home that third place finish. Again, unofficially, I think you're going to come up just a little bit short of making the championship 4, and as you noted, of course, really kind of needed that win, but I mean, overall, you put the season in retrospect. How have you felt up to this point, and how do you go round it off on a good note next week at Atlanta?
Yeah, it's probably been my best season. I still haven't made the Final 4 yet, which is disappointing, but, we got great racers, Jay, and Joey. I'm glad they are in it, my teammates, and hope they can pull it off and do anything to help them to win next week.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Matthew, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I got to thank my mom, my dad, and my grandfather, my grandma, and my grandfather. Out there, they support me and everything, and they watch. And got to thank my mama's pet singing business. All been on there, Manny Rays, of course, and I got to thank you, Austin. You do a fantastic job.
And Matthew, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week at Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, that's going to round up our coverage here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway. A good race overall, a clean one, and a good win for David Traylor. He has all the momentum going into the championship for next week. It'll be himself alongside Joey Hickox, Justin Parham, and Jay Stinson, at least is what we have for now unofficially as your championship 4. Make sure you tune in for it next Saturday, same time, same broadcast network. But again, it will be at Atlanta Legacy Motor Speedway. Looking forward to that. Until next time, though, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. Have a good night.